parts. Two reasons. One, I'm pretty much out of suitable pallet lath. I'll have to do some pallet runs and break some pallets up. Two, I'm bored of it. So I'll have a little break before I go mad. What I'm doing to break it up is I'm building a little deck where you get in. It's because I've got the stuff there to do it, and because twice I've slipped clambering up and down and bashed my shin, and it's just getting on. It's annoying climbing in and out there. Now you might be like, that's a bit of a high step to get in, and it is. It wants to be somewhere there, but I need the space to clad this in come time and to work on the door and stuff, so I've made it a bit lower, and then all I'll do is just chuck a couple of bricks under the legs when I'm done and I want it higher. All it's making this out of is, again, pallets. These are, some of them have been pulled out of pallets, and some of them are just the bearers that come from delivery. It's free wood as usual, and I'm just using them at full length, so you're getting, they're all 1200s, so you're getting a 1200 by 2.4, which I think is plenty, just for getting in and out and stuff. I'm building a deck. It's quite good. I've made the video at this stage. It's a good point. It's a good way to show. What I always do is I start with the height that matters. It's like a door or something that needs to be level. And I put the first two in. So I screw a piece of wood to a leg, and then I set a level on top of it, hold a piece of wood underneath, mark, cut, and then this here is what I'm used to hold that in place temporarily. I might do all sorts. I could perhaps put a stake in the ground and held it like that. And then once you've got that, then you come off that way, put a piece of wood on, level it off, mark your leg, and then it's an L shape, and then it will stand on its own. And then that's it. Hold the piece of wood, put a level on it, mark the leg. And then when you've gone round, you pull your tape across diagonally, same with the framing, and you check it's square, like that. I had to adjust it 10mm from where it was. So you haven't got to do the maths, just measure one way, measure the other, and then you're like, oh yeah, so it's 20mm difference, so move it 10mm, done. The legs themselves, go round, tweak them, make sure they're level, and then you put, I haven't got a piece of timber there, but to cut your gallows it's pretty simple. You mark where you want it that way, where you want it that way, hold it to the back, line it up with your marks, draw your lines, take it out, push it in, screw, and then they're set, and that will set them level and square. And then that's how I build a deck. I'm sure there's probably other ways, but it's always served me fine. So hey guys, decided to take a little time on this video. Actually, I'll do it in stages, and I'll actually take the time to clip them together. I'm just about advanced to that level of editing. The reason I'm doing that is because this little deck's actually quite a good way to convey quite a lot of building knowledge in one go. Because if I wasn't forced to build on the trailer, this is how I'd be building. I started out as a painter and decorator. I did about 18 months of that, and I was like, this is barely better than line work, I can't do this. So I quit that, and I started doing fencing and landscaping. So there, I learned a bit of timber work, and a bit of groundworks, like laying patios, building fences, etc. And then from there, I started doing the dry lining and the timber framing. So I learned and quite a lot of first fix chipping, and I was like, I can build a house from the pad up. And at that point I was coming up for 30, and I was like, I want to know how to build a pad, I want to know how to put all the foundations in and all the services and stuff. So I jumped on a groundworks firm, took a pay cut, jumped on a groundworks firm and started learning that side of it. So I know quite a bit about that kind of stuff, not to brag or anything, but over my 37 years I've accumulated quite a lot of knowledge in those fields. Now if I was building this, or bigger, not on a trailer, this is how I'd put it together, just like I've done them here. And as I was saying earlier, to get your gallows, you level up one post, mark it, and then you've got your template. And then from then on, you don't have to square each post, because you go around and you just mark. I've chosen 350 by 350 because that's dictated by the smallest post, that was the biggest I could fit in. And just go around and measure 350 in, 350 down, everywhere you're going to have one. And take your template and cut a load. Treat them as you put them in, because you want the stuff in the end grain. And as long as they're all made from that template and you've measured the same distance in and down, as you screw that in, that will square it up itself. And for a single story garden room or something like that, or a tiny house or whatever, this is probably perfectly adequate, even just on this kind of soil. I mean, I would personally dig in a bit, put some concrete down, lay a slab, level the slab at the bottom of each post, and over a long time you may get a tiny bit of movement, but nothing that's going to render the problems to the house. But if I was going 2-story, well then you're into proper house territory because of weight, and you're going to need proper foundations. And that's dictated by your ground, because what you're looking for when you're building a foundation is what's known in the trade as virgin ground, which is not topsoil. It's either hard packed clay that's not been disturbed and dug, i.e. virgin, because if someone's been digging in there and it's made up ground and it's not been compacted by hundreds of years of gravity, then you're just going to have to keep going, and you just keep digging until you get virgin ground. So the depth for you to get to virgin ground dictates the method that you need to use. If you can scrape away 6 inches of topsoil and you've got solid clay underneath, then dig sort of 400 down, so you're well into that clay, put in some mesh, pour a slab. That's going to be very cost effective, done, quick. But if you need to go 2 meters down to get virgin ground, well then that's too much concrete. You can't pour that much concrete, it's not cost effective, and there's be too much muck away. So what you do is you go to a block and beam method. So you dig a trench to virgin ground and you step it if necessary, and you make sure you do your steps within line of a trench block depth. So you will round it up to the nearest trench block as you're looking for the virgin ground, and you put the steps around, and then you put in a little shutter and you go around with a laser level and you mark pins all the way around in that trench for the finished level of the concrete. And then the steps, where it goes steps, you'll put a pin 2 trench blocks down, or whatever it is, and you'll go around and then you pour, and you're tamping it to the top of the pins. You let that go off, build your trench blocks up until you're out of the ground, and you put the block and beam on top. Now if you're talking even deeper to get virgin ground, then you're into drilling piles. You're having to drill big holes with a machine. Not really done much of this myself, don't really know much about it. Slide down tubes with steels and pour concrete down that tube, so you've got spikes into the ground and you float it on that. But yeah, that's how I would build anything really. I'd do the minimum groundworks necessary to get timber framing, and if my next house hopefully will be on the ground, and I will do block and beam construction or a pad depending on what my ground's like, and I'll go 3.6 by 7.2. So I'm using 3.6 metre lengths lined up in the same way as this, but longer obviously. And then the walls, again I'll use 3.6 metre lengths because they're manageable and easy to move on your own. Stand it up, frame across, 2 metre ceiling, plus the material would leave you 1400 wall upstairs. So then you put in an A-frame roof, jacking the pitch up to give you a head height. So then you've got 2-storey, 2-room, 1-bathroom house built very, very quickly and easily. But yeah, okay, so I've done it in 2 pieces. I don't know if I'll probably come back in a little while when that's finished and be like, look, ta-da, here's my deck. I'm going to be putting the decking boards in diagonally like so to create 2 diamonds. That's the plan. They're not decking boards there. It's a pallet one, of course. Supplied by decking boards. Anyway, sweet guys. Right, I've got the God, the sun's bright. I can't even see what's going on. Right, I've got the basic first diamonds in. I don't even know if you're in focus because I can't see the screen. Once that diamond's in, that's the hardest part. Then you just got to start infilling. Because these are thinner than deck boards, I found that there was a slight spring in it. So I put these extra supports in like so. Now, I don't know why, but I just find that shape so pleasing. Like that shape pleases me on an emotional level. It's completely irrational. It's almost as if like a powerful propaganda system has trained me my whole life to view that shape positively. But can't be that's mental. So yeah, I'll finish this off and then I'll show a picture. I'll show a little quick video of it finished. Right, now I'm at this point, it means I can explain every last stage. So as you've seen earlier, I'd got the main edges of the diamond in that you set it off, and then outside of the diamond, as you come to the edge, obviously that's really easy. You just space it in. I use some wood screws to space them because your 5-6mm gap's ideal for a deck, and you just put them out and just run the skilly down the edge and chop them off there. When you get to the inside, that gets a bit more tricky because you're having to sort of line them up overlapped and then cut through. And as you work in, it gets fiddlier and fiddlier until you're making more and more minor adjustments, but you just sort of fiddle around and get them in. With the same graces, if you look at this one over here, you don't really have to worry too much about the quality of that joint, because when you're finished, you run the skilly back and forth through that joint and widen it out to a 5mm, the same as these. So when you look out at it, it looks like that. And that's basically it. That's everything you need to know about building a deck out of pallets. And if you didn't live in Britain, where we have to stuff every inch of our house with insulation and plastic to not die, like if you're in some nice tropical country, I don't see why you couldn't sand that up and just have it as the finished floor and build off that. I really don't. I mean, if I was in a proper hot country, I don't think I'd bother with the insulation. I'd put the Tyvek the same, and then I wouldn't put any insulation in the voids. I'd just be tacking the bubble foil to the inside and taping that up as a moisture barrier, and as a reflective to keep the heat out. That's how I'd be doing it if I was in a hot country. So yeah, there's a pallet wood deck, guys. If you're wanting to build one on the weekend, like I say, I would recommend the diamond formation because it's the least waste and you can just build them in these, or these are 1200 by 1300, and you just build them in like that because you can add on. I mean, when I add 2 more on, that part will become a big diamond in the centre, and then they will all interlock, so you can just keep adding. Sweet guys. Right, now you can see the frame's complete. Obviously I had to infill that way as well as putting all the gallows in, so that's nice and solid now. So the actual deck boards, I'm doing diamond formation, interlocking diamonds. If you use some brand new deck boards, it only really has one advantage in that it looks trick. But with pallet wood, it's got lots of advantages because you've only got short lengths anyway, so it's not like you're cutting things down just to make something short. And if you've got a 1200 by 1200 squares, which you will have, then you'll just get the longest lengths out of a piece of pallet bath. Also with pallet wood, you're going to have different widths. And with the diamond foundation, it doesn't matter, as long as you've got 4 pieces the same width, you can use them, you can fit them any way you like. Also, if you're only doing a small deck that you want to expand later, well, you just repeat, and they will interlock. You just have interlocking diamonds all the way. So I think with pallet wood, it's the way to go. There's also, you're getting less waste because as you're cutting, the offcuts then get used in the smaller parts of the triangle, the diamond, should I say. So yeah, I think it's definitely the way to go for pallet wood decking, definitely.